Right, good morning. We're talking to Paul Jones down at the Coomera Cup 2023 at Eagleby, and Paul's joining us this morning to give us some tips on setting up a 1 metre for competitive racing. Just a bit of background on Paul. He's a former Australian champion and top 10, sailed in a lot of the world championships. He's a regular top 10 placer. And so we'll give him a bit of time to tell us how he can do it, because we're all trying to learn. So if you wouldn't mind, Jonesy, what's your first point?
Yeah, my pleasure. Look, I think initially you'd want to set up and try and get your mast as straight as possible, because most sails are cut to set properly on a straight mast. There are some exceptions to that. If you've got a deeper sail with more luff round, then you probably need a bit of curve in your mast. But even if that's the case, you want the bottom 2/3 of the mast to be pretty much dead straight.
Right.
So,
can I ask you a question about that?
You can.
Yes. I've been battling with that, the straight mast bit, for quite a few years when I first started sailing, because I kept reading on all the rigging guides. They say, follow the luff curve, bend your mast and follow the luff curve of the sail. And I was totally confused. And one day you told me, Russell, just have a straight mast. Made so much difference to my sailing. But what is this? Is there an explanation for following the luff curve?
No, I don't agree with that. I think the straight mast on a sail that's got a luff curve cut in it, the straight mast actually pokes the sail.
Yes.
And forces the shape into the sail, which is what you want.
Yep. Okay.
So I wouldn't be worrying about following the luff curve. If you're following the luff curve, you've basically got no power in your sail. It might look all right, but it's got no power.
Yeah. Okay.
So you get to that point where you get your mast nice and straight. It's a combination of side stay tension, forestay tension, back stay, gate setting, spreader angle if you can adjust those. Some people can or can't. And once you get all those things right, you can get a straight mast. When I set this boat up last weekend, I struggled to get a straight mast, and I just kept playing around with those areas until I got it dead straight, and it is dead straight now. Once you've got that established, you need to use your boat manufacturer's basic tuning setup, which is what I do with the K2 and what I do with this boat so far, the Venti. It's not a bad starting point, and then you go and sail it, because all boats are a bit different. Like if you go and sail it and you feel like the boat's a bit dead in the water and doesn't want to climb, well, rather than trying to wind the backstay, the vang on and tighten up the mainsail leech too tight, you might be better to drop a tiny bit more rake into it, because any adjustment on the rake makes a huge difference to the helm. Right. I've had a boat in the past that was all gripey and wanted to point up all the time, and I couldn't, unless I let the leech ride off and had no power, I couldn't get it to sail straight. So ultimately I stood the mast up a little bit, and the boat balanced out and sailed beautiful, and I could have power in the sails and sail it straight. So, everyone's boats are different, so you try and get the best out of it that way.
Right, and so when you're saying don't adjust the vang, or preferably look at your rake first and then the vang. If I come back to the vang, if you adjust your vang for upwind, then you're going to change your setting for downwind. If you adjust that vang, is there some truth in that?
That is true. I mean, at least if you have a straight mast, letting the sail to the running square position from the close haul position shouldn't make any change to the luff curve. However, the moulded gooseneck fittings, and you can buy an adjustable one that you can actually adjust for that. But if you've got the basic moulded or the basic alloy gooseneck, and you find that your upwind twist on the mainsail looks good, but when you ease the main out to go downwind, it's either too tight or too loose, you can pack the gooseneck to change the geometry. For example, if you put a packer in the top of the gooseneck and get that packed off the mast a bit, then when you let the sail out, you'll get a tighter leech. And the vice versa, if you put a packer in the bottom when you let the sail out, it'll go a looser leach. So I mean, this boat's got an adjustable gooseneck, so the previous owner's got it set so you've got the right leach tension downwind as upwind. So I didn't need to worry about it too much, but that's what you do.
So you're a fan of the adjustable gooseneck?
Well, this is the first time I've had one for a lot of years. I had one, I don't know, maybe 10 or 15 years ago, and it seemed like a great idea, but it actually come apart during a race in Tasmania at the Nationals. So I had no leach tension at all downwind, and was relying on oversheeting to have leach tension upwind. So that failed on me. So after that, I went away from them. But the ones that nowadays are a little bit different design, so I'm banking on them being a better unit. So
great. All right. Got any more tips for us, James?
You, with an A-rig, you've got your light condition, you've got your mid-range condition, and you've got your top-of-range condition. What I've found to be successful is you set up with your side stays fairly taut. In the dead light, you might knock half a turn off each side stay, so your rig's a little bit more relaxed.
Yes.
As you get to the mid-range, you put the side stay tension on because you want to maximise the power you're getting out of the rig, and tighter stays does that. And then when you get to the top of the range of A-rig, you'll back the stays off again, which ultimately lets the mast bend sideways a bit more and depowers it, which that seems to work well. And by the same token, in top of the range A-rig, if you've got a boat that wants to put its head down, nose diving downwind, having the looser side stays will alleviate that. It lets the mainsail depower downwind and avoid the nose diving. So there's two benefits to that lesser stay tension in the windier condition.
Right. What about the backstay?
Backstay.
You adjust
generally don't adjust.
Up?
I don't adjust the backstay too much because that's your anchor point for the rake that you want, and you don't really want to. If you start adjusting the backstay, you're going to end up altering the rake. So I've got an adjustment on the headsail, so I can tension the rig via the headsail rather than mucking around with the backstay. That's what I prefer to do.
That's a good tip. Yes. Okay. Any more gems?
I think that's enough for people to work on. You know, that's a good start.
Thanks very much. Now, what are you thinking about the venue here at Eagleby?
Yeah, I think it's got potential. It's good open water. I like it. I sailed here in 2018, but it was on the other bank, and I liked it then. I think it's a good venue.
Great. And how are you going in the event? You're up there with the first guys?
No, good mate. No.
What's happening?
I don't know. There's one race I didn't win, so I'm not as high up as I could be.
All right. Well, thanks very much,
That's
Jonesy.
all right.
Thanks for Jonesy's tips.
I hope someone can get some benefit out of it.
That was great.
The better we can get the other guys going, the better it is for us. Pushes us along a bit harder.
I appreciate your philosophy. It's terrific.
Not a problem.
You.